Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Saturday. Sans my producer, Miss Audrey, a.k.a. Mildred Powell. You need to be on cue with your breaks this morning. Mildred is up at a swimsuit competition up on Kentucky Lake, so I am producing and doing everything myself. Got a great show in store for you today. Unless you've been living underground in a bunker with no communication to the outside world, there was a little bit of conference realignment yesterday. We've been talking about it. The Pac-4 is what it is now. And look, it's really kind of ridiculous, but a lot to talk about because there are going to be reverberations nationally with what happened yesterday. I'm telling you right now, the ACC is on watch. And I'm not saying the respirator's on, the priest is in the room, and they're calling the kinfolk to the bedside yet, but I hope they have a plan. Look, I don't know what you're doing this morning, but I will say this. If you're up or you're wanting to get up, you need to head to a place called Biddy and Bo's Coffee, downtown Auburn, right next to Auburn Bank at Magnolia and Gay, kind of just past there on the corner. Biddy and Bo's Coffee, open Monday through every day of the week, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Serve coffee, cold brew, iced coffee, lattes, matchas, frappes, or whatever, smoothies, and more. Also, they have pastries, muffins, etc. They have 25 of the best employees I've ever seen. Positive attitude. They look for excuses to make the customer experience better. Biddy and Bo's Coffee in Auburn, right next to Auburn Bank, Magnolia and Gay, right there at the new Auburn Bank in that shopping area. It is a fantastic store. Also, keep in mind a couple of housekeeping notes. The first ever St. Paul Open. I know there's a band in Birmingham called St. Paul and the Broken Bones. Doug used to be the lead guitarist in that group, but they are pretty damn good. Came to live at the Garden a few years ago. The first ever St. Paul Open, October 2nd, 8 a.m., Chickasaw Country Club in Memphis. This is to benefit the Bishop Peter J. Sarton Scholarship Fund. Call Michael Jordan. That's right, Michael Jordan, MJ, 901-647-3014. They're about to fill up on teams. I don't know if they are or not, but get in there and maybe they can make some more. They do need flag sponsors, whole sponsors. They need money, participants, items donated in lieu of cash. And last night, I went out to the Ed Murphy Track and Field Classic at Rhodes College. Oh, my God. Athletes from 41 countries. These are the best athletes in the world. And I was watching Bracy run the 100 right in front of me. And a 9.9600. No, Ben, you were 9.98, weren't you? Yeah. And Doug was a 9.99. Listen, I was out there with Eddie Murphy. I saw John Sharp. I saw a lot of people that I know out there. Memphis people today, they're going to be down on Beale Street. They're setting up right now for the pole vault. They got some road races down there. This needs to be in Memphis, and this Mid-South to Memphis what Wimbledon is to the All England Tennis Club in London. 41 athletes. These track and field athletes are incredible. I tell you what, they had pizza and hot dogs and stuff. When I was around those people, I didn't eat any. I had one slice of pizza. I starved myself going, wow, I want to look like that. But, man, then I get home. I'm driving back over here to the farm late last night, putting my head out the window to stay awake. There's some conference realignment, guys. Doug Dean, AU Dose in Birmingham, is with us. Big Ben Troupe, Gentle Ben. And I talked with the head of the American Track League, Paul Doyle. I was talking about you. I said, Ben Troupe's on the show every week, and he grew up in Swainsboro. And Paul, with the American Track League, is in Atlanta. And I said, he, at 6'4", 245, is a runner. And I said, he was 11 or 12 years old. One day he goes, wow, I'm in Gainesville, Florida. 5 years later, he's a scholarship athlete at the University of Florida. But, man, there's a lot happening right now. track and field world, get down to Beale Street, edmurphyclassic.com. Wherever you are listening, thank you, first of all, for taking time out of your day to listen. So buckle up. As Angus's father said in the movie Braveheart, when he pulled that arrow out of his chest, that'll wake you up in the morning. So will a couple of cups of coffee, and let's go. Doug, I'm going to get you started because Ben's chomping at the bits. So bait him with this conference realignment story because it's big. It's really big.
Good morning, Rob. Ben, you're looking good, man. Like you still got a few snaps left in you on college football. How are you doing, Ben?
Always doing good, man. Always a pleasure to be on with you and Rob, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun here. You know, it seems like Rob and Ben, back in the day, shall we say the 80s, 90s, when the SEC boldly was expanding, it seemed like you could go on a vacation for a few months and come back and they would still be talking about it. It was several years in the making, and you had some warning. Gosh, speed matters now. Ask the Pac-12. Ask those four. It's the Pac-4 now, and they arguably some of those leaders sat on their thumbs too long, and their strategy was hope, which is not a very good strategy, is it, Rob? And I don't know. So now, what I'm kind of lamenting in a way that we're not going to have. I grew up thinking of college football as these regional fiefdoms, warring factions, across, and it was regional. When you said Southeastern, the teams really looked like they were from the Southeast. There's Mizzou. That I never felt comfortable about Missouri, as I like to call it, being really a natural fit in the SEC, but they're ours now. And so I think you can forget regional warring. I thought that with the 12-team playoff, the advent of that the politics would be such that you would always have most every region of the country represented in the playoff, and probably not with a first round bye like Georgia, Alabama, and some of the powers are. And now I think what you'll have, which maybe it'll be better for the viewers. You should, in theory, have the 12 best teams, not just the 12 politically connected. Oh, we got to throw a bone to the Pac-12, whether they're good or not. And but I'm shocked at this. Not that it's happening, but at the amazing speed with which it's happened. And after I pitched to Ben for his comments, the image that came to mind for me, Rob, was George C. Scott in Apocalypse Now, standing there saying, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." God, Ben, what do you think?
I like that.
I think everybody had something to say about Deion in Colorado when they did it first. Like, oh, Deion's leaving. Well, Deion knew what was coming, and not only did Deion know, but these you talk about these presidents, these athletic directors, they knew what was coming. And the thing is, we used to talk about how strong geographically college was in the South. You get to a certain part of America, it's not the same brand. It's still college football. It's not the same brand. We so many years removed from the Reggie Bushes and the Matt Liners of the world dominating the USC to the point where you stayed up to watch them. Now, the night game on the West Coast ain't even watched by people on the West Coast. Those games come on so late. So people are saying, hey, what happened to college football? I said, follow the money. They're looking around, looking at how much money some of these other conferences are making. They're saying, man, forget the recruiting for a second. Look at the check that these schools are getting before they even kick off with these TV deals. And I know everybody's talking about what is Florida State going to do? What is Clemson going to do? And I think that when you look at the volume of how teams are coming from the Pac, we knew the Pac-12 was going to get dismantled. We didn't know it was going to be this quick of a trickle effect. Like, it's like they just had Pac-12 media days. For what? Like, why did you have media days when all you had to do was say, hey, man, we just want to show you this is how we look together. Let's take a picture together, fellas, because we'll never be like this again. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew that the whole USC, UCLA was just a trickle effect, but here comes Colorado, here comes Oregon, here comes Arizona State. That, the commissioner of the Pac-12, he owes all those fan bases an apology because you knew what was coming. And you make, but you'll say, well, I'd rather let Colorado do it and put it on Deion or put it on, these coaches. No, I knew it was gonna happen. I'm like Doug. I didn't see it happening like this because it tells me that Pac-12 doesn't care about rivalries. They don't care about traditions, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, the Pac-4 or whoever's left at this point, I mean, does that mean that some smaller level schools get a chance to come over to the Pac-12? Who knows?
And then you got a footnote too that I think maybe the Big 12 with their chess moves, adding Arizona, a really incredible Arizona State and Utah programs. Those are some good football brands. The Big 12 is not on life support, and it's probably premature to call the ACC on life support because they have some options. In fact, they may be poachers and look at one or more of these teams that are left. That's Stanford, Cal. That to me, not the most natural additions. And you start looking at travel costs and asking fans to fly across the country. What is the compelling reason for Fox and the powers that be in the Big Ten, particularly, to do this? To sell Rotel tomato dip and Crest toothpaste at 10 and 11 p.m. at night, Rob. It seems like I understand the money side of this, but if you look at it now, it's not a bold forecast. It's Captain Obvious to say, when you understand recruiting, the SEC and to an extent the Big Ten has every likelihood of owning the West Coast talent now as if they didn't already. And so you're looking at the football product, the winning, the championships. It's going to double down, and I think you'll see 3 and 4 SEC teams and a few Big Ten teams, including, by the way, maybe USC when they start playing ball again with the coach they've got. I think the talent doubles down. It funnels even to an even smaller region, and the SEC is going to mean even more as if it didn't already.
Yeah, interesting thing. John David Badur, Memphis Touchdown Club, and Tony Barnhart will be the first speaker Monday, September 28th. That's going to be a great deal. You ought to join your Touchdown Club wherever you are. But 31 years ago, we're in the dining room at the University Club. Jackie Sherrill in 1992. Ben, you were in third grade, probably. You were a young kid because are you 40 yet?
Yeah, I'll be 41 in September. Yes.
Okay. What's your birthday in September?
September 1st.
Okay. Yeah, I got a birthday. Well, Wilson, my middle son, is September 9th. Great month. All right, so he predicts back in 92, and John David sent me something last night, and Coach Sherrill, every time he's on here, we remind him of it. But he said we're going to have probably 4 super conferences going forward, probably 16 teams in each one of them. And I think he's right. But he recently said on the show, it's very important that those other teams have a national championship because it means just as much to them. Guys, it's kind of a strange dichotomy here, but I'm going to throw it out just for discussion. The Big Ten and the Pac-10, 12, Pac-4, whatever you call it, have always had this sick obsession with one another. The Rose Bowl, at 4:30 in the afternoon, kept that time slot forever. But it was the Big Ten that would send, for the at the Roman Coliseum, go out there and be feasted on by the Pac-12 schools, Southern Cal, UCLA, could be Washington, whoever. Now it's the Big Ten that is throwing out the lifeline to save the Pac-12. Isn't that funny? Is that ironic to either one of you, Ben? I mean, am I on to something or am I not drinking enough coffee?
No, I think you are on to something. And the thing is, too, right? I mean, this the Big Ten is using this leverage. Just saying, look, man, we understand, we can see what's going on, and we are out. The Big Ten knows this. Look, we got Ohio State, we got Penn State, we got Michigan, we got Michigan State. That's about it. I mean, we're very, very, very strong top heavy wise, but conferences are always judged on the bottom feeders of the conference. The question is always, I bet our bottom 4 could beat your bottom 4, or they can compete. Well, what the Big Ten is saying, look, man, we're attractive when you're talking about those 4. How attractive do we get past? I mean, the only difference in Nebraska and Wisconsin is location. They got the same colors, same color scheme, and not much to really go off of. And even though Nebraska is a huge brand, they haven't done a lot lately. So they're trying to say, hey, man, the SEC and the ACC, they're the dominant conferences. And obviously you got the Big 12, which, I mean, outside of Oklahoma State, I don't know how much Colorado helps, a Big 12, but we'll see. I think what the Big 10 is saying, look, man, we could be the brand teams. I mean, like it or not, Stanford is a big brand. Cal is a big brand. And we can pair our brands together. I don't know if the style of football is going to help. But, yeah, Big 10 is using this leverage. I mean, when's the last time the Big 10 could reach out to anybody, and say, hey, man, we want to add you guys to the conference? I didn't see it happening this way, Rob, but I can understand why the Big 10 is doing it. This goes back to the pandemic again. The only conference that said this is what we're going to do from start to finish was the SEC. They said we're going to start this date, and everybody's watching. Pac-12, I mean, they got to the party really, really late. What the ACC, so I think this goes back to that, to realize that the only, I guess, like, unity you've seen from any conference the whole time is the SEC. And Greg Sankey, I don't know how he's the only person that nothing leaks. I don't know how he does that, but nothing ever leaks in the SEC. Never. And to me, that just goes to show how much respect he has throughout the conference. And obviously, he is the most prominent, dominant, prestigious man in college athletics right now. But I'm looking forward to see how it goes, because unfortunately, and people don't like to say this, the national championship is becoming less and less relevant because it's only coming from one part of the country. It's only coming from one part. They're saying, all right, if we can't win the national championship, this comes down to programming. If on Saturday you're saying, hey, what you rather see? Do you rather, and I'm not talking about SEC, if it's Clemson versus, I don't know, North Carolina, and you got a Cal versus a Penn State, well, people are going to decide. People are going to say, oh, because Greg Sankey knows, man, he's controlling programming now. Before Oklahoma and Texas come over here, that's what this is about, because, I mean, the national championship is one game, but you're trying to look at that viewership till you get to that game. This is about viewership, and that's the only reason why the Pac-12, I don't even want to know what the viewership numbers are looking like out there. And for people that saying, hey, Ben, I thought this was about amateurism. It's never been about amateurism. When TV deals and all this money behind the scenes get to flowing, I don't want to hear about no NIL. That's pennies on the dollar when you start. And that's another thing with ACC. They got a TV deal that go to like 2040, something crazy like I've never heard.
2036. You're right.
It's crazy. So I think they're trying to get out of that. But shout out to the Big 10 of trying to look, man. Sloppy seconds ain't always sloppy now. It ain't always. It don't look sloppy depending on what it is. But the kickoff of the 2025 season or 2024 college football is gonna look so different. I mean, UCF is in a P5 conference now. They want to be a part of, quote, the Big Four in Florida. I say, well, you got to win something first. Just because you get to recruit with the big boys, you got to have, love your Gus Malzahn. But this ain't Auburn now. And I know you got a big enrollment in Orlando, but just because you get to recruit with the big boys, you ain't got no 30 for 30. Last time I checked, coming out of UCF. So great storylines. I'm loving. This is why college football dominates, because they make more headlines before the season than they, so I'm looking forward to it, man. But Deion Sanders is sitting back laughing right now to everybody that has something to say. Oh, he's bolting. No, we're bolting. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump out there first, the way I don't look like I did it with the group.
Yeah.
We got break right now, Rob?
No, I was just saying, Doug, go. When I see that finger go up, I know that's your cue. I want you to take that, because great points, Ben, both of y'all.
For the show host, so take us any direction you want. But I think that I'm reminded of that beautiful metaphor, which I think is true in science, that if you take a frog and you put it in boiling water, it will jump out and survive. But if you put it in a cold water and gradually let the heat rise, the frog will stay in there to its demise when the water reaches boiling. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff, I can't pronounce it, Rob, Kliavkoff, the fact that he was herding cats, and you had, as recent as Tuesday, 9 Pac-12 conference presidents unable to agree to a media rights proposal from the great Apple TV. That would be a streaming deal. They were a frog in warm water. They didn't understand that this was a survival move. Now, if you're Oregon, maybe you're sitting there, or Washington, you're sitting there saying, you know what, it might not be so bad to let this die a natural death because I'm staring at all that Big Ten money that we can go grab and be a part of. But when I step back from this, conferences were cute and fun in the era of, remember the old pre-playoff, pre-BCS championship, the bowl games, Rob and Ben. It meant so there were 8 or 10 bowl games, really at least four to six, that meant something. It meant something to finish your season beating a blue blood, a brand name in one of those bowl games. It was great for fans, and it worked beautifully with conferences. Now, to me, what this move is all about has to do with TV and what fans want. What do fans want? They want better games. So if do you think Ohio State, Oregon is not going to be compelling TV? You better believe it is. Ohio or Michigan, Washington even. And so the regular season has a chance to feel way more relevant in these super conferences. And yet it's going to look and feel a lot more like the NFC and AFC when you can lose 3 games and possibly get hot late in the year, make the playoff, and who's to say you can't be a national championship in this new format with 3 losses ultimately.
I don't doubt for 1 second you're going to have a 9-3 SEC team make the playoffs. Remember back in 2007 when the Patriots went undefeated, a 9-7 New York Giants team got into the playoffs. So that was fun. But both of y'all, and Mitch Davis, the MitchDavisShow.com is listening right now. He said, Ben and Doug are knocking it out of the park. They've knocked the skin off the ball. So let me go redress the ball, dude, because you're right. Both of you are right. Ben, you've played at the highest level. I mean, you played college ball for the Gators. Nick Hubert, oh my, there's Ben Troupe, the big guy. Did they say you were from Swainsboro or Augusta? I don't know.
They said I was from. They say where you graduated high school from. So,
okay.
Unfortunately for me, they said I was from Augusta. I had to. I'm not finna correct Mick Hubert, but I want to feel like y'all know where I'm from, man.
Yeah, but look, this is the interesting thing about this because I want to get Dave Cody on, our friend who's been in broadcasting for about 40 years. He was in Austin for 35 years. Now he's in Bellingham, Washington, and knows that Seattle market and is connected with people all over the country. But we've been saying, you asked about the footprint. Prior to Washington and Oregon joining the Big Ten, they already, with Southern Cal and UCLA, 70% of the television sets in America reside in what is the geographical footprint of the Big Ten. Now, the Seattle market and the state of Oregon is a little over 3 million people. That's not that big a deal. That's not going to move the needle. It's a little more than Arkansas or Mississippi, but it's more people. I think that the next question is, and here, man, my phone, I can't keep up with this stuff because it is, my screen just cracked. I'm sorry, but this one just came in a minute ago, and it's a very good point, and that is, what is Chief Osceola thinking? What are the Clemson Tigers thinking right now? I mean, I can hear Gene Deckerhoff going, boy, oh my, Bobby Bowden turned it down in 92. Florida State Seminoles could have been in the Southeastern Conference as Chief Osceola prepares to ride on Renegade and bring that spear to the middle of Doak S. Campbell Stadium as the Seminoles and the Florida Gators prepare for this SEC East matchup. We didn't happen. Guys, Doug, jump in on it, but they should have done it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Florida State free shoes, Ben. I'm going to do that for Ben Troupe.
Ben loves he loves them
because I am a Steve Spurrier fanboy. In case you wondered, Ben Troupe, I love Coach Spurrier. It was an acquired taste because he was an arrogant SOB when he was kicking our butt. But I came to like him. He's a man of integrity. I think he's always done it right as a coach, and you know what I mean by that, Ben. In recruiting. But let me help the listeners with some likely realities as it relates to Florida State and Clemson. But I'll preface it, Rob, by saying I would, for selfish reasons, as an Auburn guy, I would love to get Auburn, Florida State back. That 84 game it's a travesty that it wasn't televised. the last team with the ball was going to win, and I think it was something like 42-41. But
Exactly.
and Coach Bowden was legendary there. But it's a fact, and Bobby Bowden acknowledged it, that he had the opportunity for Florida State to join the SEC. He felt like, and he told Feinbaum this, that if they did, he felt like the path was just too hard in the Southeastern Conference to win enough games, make it to a national championship game or consideration. Now, he was right short term. What was it, 1999, Florida State won the mythical national championship. And then, of course, in 2013, a year that I prefer not to have to even remember, we needed 13 more seconds to beat that Florida. But credit Jameis Winston and that team, and discredit Gus Malzahn for not seeing a fake punt coming in the first half. So they did. Florida State won 3 national championships. You could say Bowden was right. Here's where he was wrong. He didn't, and it's forgivable because there's a lot going on right now that I sure as hell didn't see coming. I don't know about you guys with these super conferences. Expansion was not surprising. The way it's happening now with portal and NIL added to it, unbelievable transformation. Not all good, probably. But Bowden missed it. Even though they won 3 titles, that did not inure to Florida State having brand stability and improvement, nor financial health that was sustainable over a long period of time. Florida State has had AD problems. Their stadium is unimpressive, if you ask me, except for the pregame Chief Osceola. That's one of the more electric pregame ceremonies of all. But here's the main point: it takes only four SEC presidents or ADs to block any team from coming in.
Yeah.
If my sources are right, and this is important to hone in on, the block that would not, surprisingly in the case of Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee would be pretty adamantly opposed to both FSU and Clemson coming in the league. And if you add Florida and South Carolina, who I think are likely opposed to it, I don't think there's a scenario that Florida State or Clem come in, even though they've had tremendous history as football programs. Your thoughts, Rob?
No, I totally agree. And that Auburn Florida State game, 1984, is the greatest football game ever not televised. Do you remember? I think people might remember. This will get Ben fired up, but remember this.
With 1:13 to play, 41-36, the Tigers trail Florida State.
Hair on the back of my neck.
They ran the option, and Kyle Collins got it in over here on the left corner. Let's see what they do. 2 tight ends for Washington. He's going to pitch to forward, tries to get outside. He dives for the pylon. He's in! He's in! He's in! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, Auburn! Touchdown, forward from 4 yards away! And the Tigers have done it. They've marched literally the length of the field.
Man, I mean, and you think about that, and think about this. What you just said, I'm getting chills hearing it. And Ben, do you understand what college? I know you do, but understand. Think about this, Doug. There were 4 kids that Ben grew up with in his neighborhood that went on and played it in the SEC. Ben, you had a teammate go to Arkansas. He was teammates with a guy named Carlos Rogers, which people are familiar. I mean, Ben. Did you all know at the time you were playing what this stuff means to people and what it does to change your life? Because it's like a great bottle of wine down in the cellar. It just gets better with time. And I just think about Dad's listening, born in 1928. He can remember as a 5-year-old, I'm sure he does, when the Southeastern Conference was founded. And in 1953, when we broke away and we formed the ACC. But I love what you both have said. The rivalries, the regionalism, the traditions, that stuff never gets old. I'm so fired up. I got to take a break because I'm drinking coffee and about to explode. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back. Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal down in Savannah, Doug Dean, AU Dose in Birmingham. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back. This is Saturday Sidelines. Love it. Right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Anybody listening remembers this play. I bet you Ben Troupe remembers this play.
There's the snap. League dropping back, throws underneath. He's got Ben Troupe at the 15, at the 10. Hurdles on that, spins to the 5. Oh, my. Still on his feet. Still pounding to the goal line. He's going to score. He's going to score.
That's awesome.
If you got to see Ben, I mean, we knew a little about you before you came on the show. We both did, but I mean, you hurdled, still on his feet. I mean, this stuff, college football, you can take somebody in an iron lung and play something like that, and they're breathing on their own. It's just, there's nothing better. But Ben, before we went to the break, we had a question for you. And like I say, I'm JoJo, the circus boy, man. I am jacked up, having a little bit of Jolt Cola here. But let's get your reply on that.
Man, I think the main thing you guys are both touching on that always, lets me know that it was much bigger than me is people always say being naive helps you to a certain point. We were so naive that helped us. If you're going in and somebody goes, hey, Carlos Rogers, hey, Ben Troupe, let me show you what you're really doing. It's going to freak you out because you need Bo Jackson to walk up to Carlos and him not expect it. And you just go, oh, you need that stuff. When Emmitt Smith comes and they're retiring his number 22, you need that. And let's call it what it really is. My 17, 18-year-old mind can only handle so much. Like, I'm still 17, 18. People will assume because I signed with Florida that I'm better at life. No, I'm athletic, right? Steve Spurrier felt I could help him. But when you walk away, a fan turns you around and say, I want you to look at this, right? And you look and go, that was us? That's y'all. And that's forever. Meaning, it's like this. If I get drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, I get all that tradition. I ain't done nothing yet. I get to talk about, all these players that came through, Terry Bradshaw, but I just got here. It's like that in college football. College football is different than NFL football. NFL is based off where you live. College football is not like that. You got somebody in Seattle, Washington that's an Auburn Tiger, right? And he wears his gear every day to let them know, nope. Like y'all don't play no football up here. He's telling them what it means, and it's always a humbling to me because it goes back to what you said, Doug. When Clemson and Florida State look back on 2023, they're gonna say we had leverage and we didn't use it. We had it and we didn't use it because them same 4 presidents that would have voted against them. If you try to say at the right time, you don't think Greg Sankey gonna call those 4 presidents? Listen, just. It makes financial sense, and I get it because it's like this. Vanderbilt beat Florida and Kentucky in back-to-back weeks last year. They couldn't seal the deal with Tennessee, right? That just shows the growth of Vanderbilt. Now, that's not going to happen every year, but you benefit from being around greatness. You're going to benefit from being, I tell people this all the time, man. You know how good Auburn is as a program? They're the only team last time I remember that went undefeated and didn't go to the national championship. They're the only team last time I remember that took a DB from Georgia and went all the way to the national. That has to do with coaching, but tradition more because nobody's doing that. Nick, love you to death. Nick said, you're not doing that. And so I think that when you talk about what we was able to be a part of, man, I'm going into Florida. I know who Steve Spurrier is, but it goes back to what my cousin said, who's 10 years older than me. He said, when Steve Spurrier come to your house, you do not tell that man no. Mind you, I don't know what my cousin is talking about. I'm like, why would Steve Spurrier come to my house? Because this is early in the recruitment stage. So I look back on my life and go, Lou Holtz was in my living room. Tommy Bauer was in my living room. And Jim Donner was in my living room. In my living room. You know, my mama cooked nothing. She said, I'm not cooking for them. I'm tired. I said, Mommy, nope, not cooking. If they want you, they better eat before they get here. And they show you how crazy it is. I had a friend, lives in Augusta. She works for this organization. She said, I had to go pick up this guy last week at the private airport. I think his name was Dabo. I said, Dabo Sweeney? She was like, yeah. She's like, you know who that is? I'm like, the fact that you don't know who that is, they sent the wrong person to pick him up. So you in the car like, sir, stop up. What you all that orange on for? All that. I'm telling you, college football to me is always, the NFL knows one thing. We will never, ever, ever let college football come on Sundays. Because they don't want to compete with them numbers because they know, sorry, college football has a lot of tradition-rich schools. NFL got a lot of, slot fillers. They ain't good. Cleveland, I don't care that you got Deshaun Watson. I love my Titans. They slot fillers. They're not, so I think that when I think about college football, man, Zach Wilson got a chance to be a number 2 overall pick because he had this game again, but he lost. Listen, he played one team in the South called Coastal Carolina on the wins, and they beat him. Coastal Carolina said, come to Conway with that BYU stuff, and they got beat. And he still goes number 2. I'm telling people this all the time. College football was born and bred in the South. I love my West Coast people, Midwest people, but I'm telling you this all the time. You know what's a culture shock for a cat from the North? Spring football. They don't do that up north. They can't. So they go, wait a minute. Y'all play football year round? Yep. Even when it don't matter. We got games that don't matter put on national TV. And so I'm loving it. Listen, Lincoln Riley knew. He said, baby, we just gonna live out here. We ain't gonna play out here. You sure? I'm telling you, we're not gonna be playing in California. We're gonna that's why I got y'all that 24-hour access to that private jet. So I don't know what family's gonna be to the game. I know y'all will be there because y'all on the private jet that got USC on it. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I just love what's going on now. We got to get used to these new traditions. I mean, it's going to be weird hearing, Cal versus Maryland on a Saturday afternoon in the district. But that's the freaking flyer miles. If you are a pilot that works for these schools, may God bless you because you're going to be on the road more than somebody that worked for Delta Airlines.
I swear. Hey, Ben, next time you sign on and you put your name in the box, it needs to read the Right Reverend Ben Troupe because you're pretty.
I mean, it's just unreal. Hey, you know why we love college football, guys? Now, this one was a painful one. Remember this one? I mean, I'm going to tell you what, this is painful.
One more play. The ball's at the Auburn 36. So it's going to be about a 52-yard attempt. The 52-yard attempt will be it for Van Tippett. This would win the game. A 52-yard try. The clock will not start till the ball is snapped. There is the snap. The kick is in the air. It has distance. It's good! It's good! It's good! It's good! It's good! It's good! Van Tippett has won.
Well, all I can tell you is I was there, and I was pretty beard up, and I literally tried to jump from my seat in Legion Field and block the kick. Man, that's what Ham's beer will do to you. But go
Rob,
ahead, Doug.
I was there, and one of the great if you mature a little bit as a fan or analyst, you got to call balls and strikes. And I've always said to anybody that'll believe me, my good Bama friends, if you ask me to rank the top 5 Iron Bowls, I got to have the '85 Tiffin field goal that game at Legion Field, neutral, Legion Field. Because it was just, you get the go-ahead score with only about 32 seconds left, and Mike Shula was able to make some plays. We could all debate on third down, was Greg Richardson tackled in bounds or not, and that splits right down the middle depending on whether you're orange and blue or crimson. But those are the great ones. I was going to say, one of the weird things to me about this is because if you were Vanderbilt, arguably Mizzou, to some extent Mississippi State, a few others, and the bottom feeders in the Big Ten, you're very fortunate that you were already in place. Because if we ever had you feel familiar with relegation and World Cup and soccer in Europe? Every year or two, if a team is really not performing, they can get relegated out of that big time league, and they have to earn or win their way back into the big time. We're not going to ever have that in the Southeastern Conference or Big Ten, but it is a little unusual that there will probably still be those teams that are hangers on that swim in the wake of the big time programs in the super conferences.
Ben, jump on that one. There's so much happening so fast in college football.
It is. Look, the one thing I was always told when it comes to college athletics is don't get used to it. They always don't get used to what you see, because it has to change. It's like it has to change with the times. You got the cater. You talk about recruiting. You talk about the coaches. You talk about facilities, all these things, and everybody wants to be a part of it. Like everybody wants to say, well, this team got this and that team got that. And now it's like you're saying to yourself, man, how can we make sure that we're not being left behind? That's what I'm saying. I never ever thought. I remember when $1 million for a coach was out of this world. Are you making what? Man, please. That's what coordinators make now.
I know.
So I think that when we think about college athletics, when people ask, man, what is it about America that's different than any other place in the world? College athletics. Like, the way college athletics runs a certain portion of the year in the fall, and that's taking nothing away from baseball and track, but college football is nuts. When people go, hey man, WNBA players are complaining that they can't get charter jets. You will never see a college football team walking through no airport. Never. I don't care what school it is, because people never ever saw that this thing called amateurism will generate more eyes, interest, and money than anything they'll ever have at school. That's not taken away from the doctors and the lawyers and the engineers. Now, I'm not saying that, but nothing generates. If you don't think that you walk on, hey man, if I'm in Ole Miss, who you looking for? Lane Kiffin. I'm looking for Nick Saban. These people run. Forget these schools. They run these. Whatever city they in, there's a reason why SEC does small, like rural towns and cities, and the ACC does big cities. No. Nick Saban can run Tuscaloosa now, right? And I think that when you think about what college athletics is becoming, you either going to get on this train or you're going to get left. Because come 2024, 2025, the only team that's laughs at everybody is Notre Dame. We do not have to move. And to me, that's the greatest chess move there is, to say, man, I don't care what you're saying, what you do. The biggest brand is Notre Dame. We don't got to have the biggest brand of football. We got the touchdown Jesus. You don't got to like it. We got a movie. You don't got to like it. But guess what? If the ACC got Notre Dame to honor their contract, because they're in the ACC in every other sport, they can't get them to honor it in football, because somebody goes, dude, when the last time we told NCAA we do what we want? Notre Dame. Brian Kelly wanted some of that SEC love. No, he wanted that SEC money. That's why he went down. That's why he went down to LSU. Because you don't leave. I bet you Marcus Freeman ain't leaving. Marcus Freeman will be there for the next 50 years if they let him. So I'm looking forward to it, Doug and Rob, because I be telling people all the time. I say, man, there is nothing like college athletics, aka college football. There is nothing like it. Anybody that say you people are nuts, well, what's up with the West Coast? Why they coming over here where we at? Because business is good. You might not like Antonio Brown, but business is booming in the South. And guess what? And they ain't gonna win it. They're still not going. That's what people won't tell you. They coming over here with y'all. If you can't win it where you at, you think you're gonna win it over here with us? Nope, you're not gonna win it. But them games are gonna be compelling, because I think come 2024, you're gonna have like Florida, Clemson, Arizona State. You already had those kind of games on the docket, but I just know this. I know you guys will put, I know, Rob, you showing different stuff. If you don't like kick sixes, you don't like sports. I don't care who you are. People, you know what somebody told me when I saw the kick six? They said, that Nick Saban must be a jerk. I go, why? Because that can only happen to somebody like that. I said, well, if you're an Auburn fan, you're probably right. But guess what? The guy that's controlling the guy up there that's controlling the game clock, it was no seconds left. He put that 1 second left. It is the worst 1 second back on the clock if you are an Alabama fan, because I was up there in New Jersey at the time. Listen, I ain't rooting for either team, right? Well, I always have to root against Alabama. That's the evil empire of college football. But when it happened, when I said, all right, Chris Davis, come on, right? Come on. But this is the karma. They got Chris Davis on Kelvin Benjamin. If the D coordinator didn't know they're gonna throw it to the 6'5" dude, that's the best odds. So Chris Davis, I love you to death, man. But they put you out there in no man's land. I got a safety over the top. I said, listen, before the snap, I'm saying, yo, Kelvin, yeah, you will not beat us on this play. I'm just telling you that right now. He's a 6'5" statue out there, but Chris Davis will live on. He should be in the College Football Hall of Fame for that play alone. Because let me tell you something: the worst place to be is the field goal team. You know why? Because all we do is block. We don't tackle people. When people go, what is the O-lineman doing? Something that the O-lineman's worst fear is, I can tackle you on an interception because you're right there in front of me. Chris Davis ran straight at him, and they stood there, and they go, okay, where is he going? Most punt returns and kick returns are return on the sideline. Oh, that's right. Y'all don't do kickoff and kickoff return. Not that part. So shout out to Auburn. I love y'all for making sure. Nick Saban, he ain't looking for no flag. He said, take this off me, man. Let me go shake Gus' hand to get the hell out of here. Love Nick Saban for his professionalism, but he deserved it. That's what Auburn. Listen, Auburn, y'all needed that. Wish y'all would have beat Florida State, because that's the greatest play I ever seen in my life. And I'm up there screaming like I went to Auburn. They told me, sir, you're gonna have to keep it down. I'm like, well, ma'am, I don't think you understood what I just saw. That's the greatest play I've ever seen in my life.
Ben Troupe, I know and I love it when a Florida guy is willing to talk about kick six. That is some kind of fun. But I knew, and I sat in Jordan-Hare Stadium on my birthday at November 30, 2013, and saw that greatest play in the history of not football, history of all sports, at least walk-off finishes in a game that was very high stakes, as we know. But I knew when I was down on the field celebrating, ran into the great Ben Tamburella, who played for Coach Dye, and my phone started going off, text messages in the wee hours of the night from a few contacts I had in Europe, for God's sake. And it was like, did I just see that? Did that really happen? And that's what we love about it. But only there's a special pain, Ben, that comes with being an Auburn man. For example, 2017, Gus Malzahn wipes the floor of Pat Dye Field with both Georgia and Alabama, beating number one ranked teams back-to-back in the span of 2 weeks, only to go to Atlanta, get beat by Georgia, and only to see Georgia and Alabama, your two arch rivals, play for the national championship the same year. And, of course, Alabama won with a overtime walk-off long throw to Smith that was slack-jawed Georgia. And then you roll it forward to 2013. Only Auburn would have two miracle finishes, the immaculate deflection. Remember that? Ricardo Lewis in the game. And you almost feel sorry for Ricardo that he only kept fame for about 2 weeks on such a big finish when the kick six rolled around. Only Auburn would get to the game in Pasadena and, as you said, not understand 3 or 4 critical plays and how to deploy and how to know a fake punt coming when you see it. But that's college football.
And Doug, listen, for the listener, when people say what separates college football, when you see people, they don't say what happened. They say, listen, man, it was a sunny day, man, on November 3rd. You know the day, the time, what you wore, because that's what college football is. College football is we don't know how to let it go. Ain't no letting it go. My mother and my mom and sister cried when Florida lost to Ole Miss the same year. It's 4th and 2. Everybody know. My mama say Tebow get 30 yards every other play. He can't. My mom and sister said I cried when I saw it. Mind you. I said, Mama. She said because I couldn't get over it. It's like we don't get over stuff, man, and that's what. College football is going to be a diagnosis pretty soon. You're going to go see your doctor, and they're going to say, what is the doctor? Is it cancer? You an Auburn fan? Yeah, man, you're going to have to cut back, bro, because I'm telling you, What you mean? How many games you go to? I go to all the home games. Just go to 2. Hell no, I'm not. I'm going to all of them. I'm going to Auburn versus my grandson's high school team, and I got Auburn by 14. It's like we can't separate it because the 2 questions we always get is, are you willing to wear your rival's colors for a year? The answer is no, Your Honor. I'd rather go to jail. Then, do you want Auburn to win more than you want Alabama to lose? Like, I don't know. I want Auburn to win. Like, I want Florida to win. Do I want Georgia to lose? Yes. I want Georgia to lose in a way that's hard to describe. Listen, I respect what they do. I just have a genuine dislike. I was a Bulldog in high school. Every other mascot in Georgia is a Bulldog. The Georgia colors are red and black. Atlanta Falcons are red and black. I'm sick. Kirby Smart is a weirdo. I don't care what no one says. He is. He has the biggest visor you ever seen. Like his visor looked like the kid visor off a Sandlot. Remember when that kid put on the hat and that visor was too big? That's what Kirby Smart visor looked like. And think about it. Only college football can make guys like Kirby and Jimbo and Dabo not only rich, but famous, but popular. Dabo Swinney is weird. He wears an all orange sport coat with orange shorts, and he's out there like trying to dance. Get your non-athletic. Even though he did go to Alabama, he ain't athletic anymore. So that's college football makes it so that when Kirby Smart walks in the room, people go, "It's Kirby." Oh hell no! That's what bothers me. It's that part. It's like Kirby Smart, he was a good safety. Dabo Swinney was a good receiver, and Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher are the same size. I thought Jimbo and them was I said, well, Jimbo, what, 6 feet? Like 6 feet? No. Jimbo Fisher told a fan, come say it in my face. That fan said, if you wasn't sitting in front of that 6'7" police officer, I would beat the hell out of you, Jimbo. For real. You can't whoop me. You got security. So, listen, that's what I like the most about it is, the only truth you've ever heard in football was coming from Steve Spurrier. He said, I will coach as long as they are good. As long as they're talented, I will coach them. And when they got bad, he got the hell on. You got to respect that. He said,
big time.
Urban said he had Urban Meyer said he had a medical condition because Tebow was leaving. And then a year after that, he's at Ohio State. I'm not going to say Urban Meyer is a liar. I'm going to say he don't tell the truth. That's all. I'm not going to say he's a liar. And he lasted 1 year in the NFL. One of the greatest coaches in college couldn't last 1 year with the Jaguars. At least Cleveland Brown coaches last 2 years. He didn't last 1 year with the Jags.
Hey, Ben, if memory serves, that year that your family, your mom, your sister, whomever were heartbroken on that Ole Miss loss, which was not without controversy with some of the calls, if I remember. But that Gator Nation ended up getting a happy ending that year after all, didn't they?
They did. That's when Tim Tebow made his speech and came out. All I'm saying is when it comes to college football, it's not fair. It's just not. You can't tell me a team was better than Auburn in 2004. They didn't lose a game, right? That's the kind of stuff to me that's crazy when you think about college football is, Ole Miss will win 10 games and they don't even go to Atlanta. Why? Because they're in the SEC West. Vanderbilt came up 1 game short and you won't even let them in a bowl game. It's like college football is not fair, people, because at the end of the day, I'm in this magazine called The Greatest of the SEC. The greatest quarterback of the SEC, they got Peyton Manning. How the hell is Peyton Manning the greatest? He never beat Florida. He never won a national championship. That's nonsense. He never beat us, never went to Atlanta, but he's the greatest of all time. Now, he got the biggest head of all time, and I got a big head too now. But he got a big one. Like he got a big one. Y'all know it's not fair when people say things like, and I'm going to say it, I don't care what nobody say. Herschel was not better than Bo. He's not. That's just the truth. I'm not hating on Herschel, but hold on, let me get this straight. Bo, who was an all-star in baseball and football, Bo Jackson, people say Herschel Walker was better than Bo. Bo Jackson was he had a freaking cartoon, right, with Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan. Y'all better listen. I know people saying, Troupe, you just don't like Georgia. I don't like Georgia. They know that. I can't stand them. But that don't mean that Herschel was better than Bo. He wasn't. Herschel was better than both. I know I'm going to have these fans on my Twitter feed today. And people saying, oh, this, that, and the third. I'm going to tell you something else. And I know people ain't going to like it. I'm going to say I don't care. I played against David Pollock. David Pollock was the truth. He wasn't better than Alex Browne. I don't care. He wasn't better. I know the accolades was better. Listen, I ain't got this. This show will turn into something different when you start talking about what players was this and what players was that. I just know that when you start breaking down, college football is about matchups. College football is about, like, you know, who did what when they had time to do it. And when I think about some of these schools, you know, certain schools have traditions amongst themselves. It ain't nationally. It's internally. Some of these teams like, oh, we got this and we got Auburn has tradition. Auburn is a blue blood. Mississippi State, please stop. Please stop it with we're the blue blood. You're not. Now, we love y'all. Ole Miss, y'all had Archie. Y'all had Eli. And the speed limit is 18 miles an hour. Stop it. Stop it. Because this is what I get into when people start talking about tradition rich means if you left, would we try to stop you? And so tell Ole Miss and Mississippi State to try to leave. They ain't going to try to stop them. So
hey, Ben, earlier you were talking about the young woman that did not know who Dabo Swinney was. And that reminded me of a funny story that's from my own family. So I have twin daughters. I think the listeners know that in the month of June and early July, both my twin daughters gave us not one, but two grandsons. So 30, they're like twins. We had them over last night, and that was wild. But my daughter, Allison, she sort of broke the script in 2009. The other two daughters went to Auburn, which was their job, right? And Allison says, no, I want to follow one of my friends to, where, University of Alabama. So she's been cut out of the inheritance bin. You can't go soft on these kids. And I'm kidding. I love her to death. She was a proud nursing school graduate. But here's what happened in 2010. This is so funny. Allison was not your typical college student at, one of the legacy iconic programs in all of college football, Alabama, if we're honest. But she just was not a sports fan. And even though Saban was riding high coming off that 2009 unblemished season, 2010 was looking like it might be interesting if you're an Auburn Tiger and worried if you were anybody else. Allison goes to Sunday Mass. Coach Saban happens to be Catholic at Holy Spirit Parish in Tuscaloosa, Rob. And she texts us after Mass and says, and I quote, Mom and Dad, I'm not sure, but I think I may have been sitting next to Coach Saban at Mass. And I said, Allison, this is not one of those things that you're not sure about. I mean, you could take somebody from Europe and they could pick Nick Saban out of a lineup in a jail. So she was not sure if it was Coach Saban she had to sign a peace with before Holy Communion. Just so funny to me. So we're not all. There's very few of us that are that weird that don't follow it all closely, but there's a few of them even here in the South.
Yeah, and I remarried Mallory, Ben. My oldest now is an Alabama grad. When she was a freshman at Alabama, she was at Mass. And when they said offer each other the sign of peace, she turned around, no lie, the row behind her was Nick Saban. And he looked at her, she looked at him, and she goes, that's okay. People look at me like that all the time. And he laughed. But you know what we love about college football? I'm going to throw this one at y'all both. Y'all are both knocking it out of the park. My phone screen, it cracked a minute ago. I sound like Larry Munson when Lindsey Scott scored. He goes, well, my stadium, the chair broke. The stadium fell down. Now they're going to have to build the thing again. He goes, man, you think about all those dog people over there at St. Simon's and Jekyll Island that have got those condos rented for a week or 10 days. Man, is some property going to be destroyed tonight. But what we love about Tennessee is that connection. And I get chills thinking about, like my wife, Audrey. Her dad passed away almost 20 years ago. Every Tennessee game, she watched it, she listened to it, she went to tons of them. Cousin Mark up there has the biggest tailgate in Knoxville. That connection that we have. When we go to Mass, the priest said one time we're connected to everybody that came before us, everybody with us. And when we go to heaven one day, that's how we do it. College football, tradition, Haywood Harris, Doug Dickey at Tennessee said it best. tradition never graduates. And when there's a buildup, when John Ward would say on the Tennessee network, when this crowd of some 105,000 comes rising to their feet on the banks of the Tennessee River, the Florida Gators will come out first. And then, ladies and gentlemen, this crowd will rise to their feet. And then it is what?
Football time in Tennessee.
I mean, you just can't beat it. But, man, I'm getting chills thinking about how much we love college football. And Doug, go ahead. Jump back in. But it just gets better every second.
This will broaden the discussion. I'm really having fun with Ben Troupe, and God,
I told you, he's incredible.
Great he was at Florida, and so fortunate. I know Ben knows this, to be privileged to play for the great Steve Spurrier. Unbelievable, good grief. But I wanted to interject for your listeners. I had lunch with, I won't name him because I don't think he would mind, but I'm not a veteran Southeastern Conference referee, an official. And my, we talked about a lot of things, but I wanted his take on any significant rules changes. Some of them I'm sure y'all have read about, but and some that we think are controversial probably won't end up being. Here's one that I had no idea about, but it's enacted, and that is, of all things, the use of, by any stadium or group that would be allowed, the use of drones that fly down near and over the playing field. And that is, this official told me, that is not an officiating rule issue. It's a game management issue. But what has been approved is there will be absolutely no drones flown over the field of play at all. Now, I want to be clear on one thing. When CBS or ESPN have the cables and it's those
Cameras,
flying cams, that's still okay. That, because they know the clearance. But you think about it. Gosh, there's something dangerous could happen if you just let any group say, "Hey, we'll pay you $100,000 to be able to fly a drone over the field." What if the pilot of that drone misfires and it gets in the way of play? Either a safety issue or it interferes with a sure touchdown pass. So I thought that one was kind of wild to hear about. And I don't know why any game stadium officials would allow drones to be used except by the broadcasting network in the first place. The other one, they're very obsessed about getting the average number of plays below about 180, and they're calling it for player safety. There were some games that didn't even go to overtime that get to 200 plays, and they just think that's too much. I think that also plays into the game being very long. So, and then the last one I'll mention, which we think it's controversial, but this official explained to me why it probably won't be, and that is the clock will run on a first down that's inbounds. Now, remember, you could throw a pass, get past the marker. They would stop the clock. You could set the ball, and that allowed you to, get another playoff. Well, that they're only going to do that until it gets to be under 2 minutes before halftime or under 2 minutes at the end of the game. This official told me the reason it's much ado about nothing. He said, on average, Doug, when there would be a first down that's inbounds, we would stop the clock. It was only about 3 or 4 seconds that was running off before they would, wind it and start the clock anyway. So really just not a lot of radical changes that we necessarily have to worry about this year. Oh, and you can't freeze the kicker anymore. You can't call consecutive timeouts to ice the kicker. That, to me, so what? That's probably just saving a little time on the game.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, Dave Cody's on with us right now, and Doug, Dave's older brother, Bill, was an All-American linebacker in the late 60s at Auburn. Wild Bill Cody played. How many years did he play for the New Orleans Saints, and what, he live on the same street with Archie?
He lived in the same street as Archie, and their kids went to school together in Metairie, Louisiana, outside New Orleans.
So, and Dave, you were sportscaster for a long time, over 3 decades at Channel 7 in Austin. He's out in Bellingham, Washington, so I'm going to get him to jump in here. But I want to play something real quick. When you think about, and Dave, I've known Dave 40 years, and as a mentor for me in television and all, and this is Ben Troupe, Dave, who was an All-American with the Gators and played in the NFL 5 years. Yeah. Doug Dean, the AU Dose in Birmingham. But to give you an idea of the impact, is you think about legendary Tennessee broadcaster John Ward thanking the Tennessee fans. This is why we love college football. I don't care who you're a fan of, and it matters, but this says it all about what the fans mean to a team. Listen to John Ward. Here we go.
The stands were beautiful, but something even more beautiful happened on the way to the Fiesta Bowl. Many of you today perhaps took part in the Vol Walk. It's a thrill for you. Take it from me, it's a thrill for the players and coaches. Yet nothing will ever match Tennessee's bus ride from the hotel to the Fiesta Bowl. It was, in fact, a 2-mile Vol Walk, 2,000 miles from home, through a corridor of Big Orange fans as far as the eye could see.
John Ward.
Did those Tennessee fans who lined every
Tennessee
street for
Volunteers.
that 2-mile Vol Walk play a part in the Fiesta Bowl win? You can bet your bottom dollar you did. You are a part of this team. You are a part of the national championship. And may those of us who represent the University of Tennessee never forget to say over and over and over, thank you.
See, and that's what we've got to remember about is college football. Thank you. Them thanking the fans. And I don't care who you're a fan of. Ben, and Dave, my God, you're an Auburn grad, but you lived out in Texas for all those years. And Doug and Ben, it's that connection. And never forget, after a loss, the best thing you can do to your kids is take them outside the locker room when they see the players come out after a loss. A win, that's great. But after a loss, and understand they got moms and dads and a lot of people that love them too. But there's nothing like the temporal spiritual connection with college football, the fans and people, from every walk of life. And it just gets better every year. Doug and Dave and Ben. And Dave, you know what I'm talking about. Those folks in Austin, are they ready to come into the SEC? Do they know what they're getting into?
I'll just say this, that my brother got $20 handshakes from Mr. Thames in Selma at the Auburn games, after the Auburn games. That's now $100 handshakes outside DKR in Austin.
Yeah.
Price has gone up.
Yes.
Hey, Rob, I'm on a short leash in a minute. Got a wedding in Nashville. That'll be fun to get to the Music City. But one of the things, if y'all decide to comment on it, obviously the huge powerhouse football brands of Texas and Oklahoma coming on board next year. That's going to talk about helping TV juice. I think people might want to watch Texas A&M. People might want to watch Alabama, Oklahoma, Auburn, Oklahoma, and so on. Florida, Texas. Are y'all playing Texas or Oklahoma next year, Ben?
Unfortunately for us, we play Texas. I don't know who flipped this coin, but yeah, we get old Ewers and old Sarkeesian. I don't know if we got to go up there, come down here, but Vince Young, who changed his number a lot, text me, letting me know, like, hey, Troupe, we coming to holler at y'all boys. I said, well, listen, don't come to my house, man. I don't care if you Vince Young. I'm going to turn the lights off. You ain't eating my food. No, do not come to my house.
Rob, here's one. It's not a big issue, but there's one. If you look at the 4 teams left, and let's call them the Pac-4, Cal, Stanford, Wazoo, and Oregon State. The one that stands out is like, well, how did they get left? Is Stanford. Stanford has played some very good football here and there for years, and I just got to believe there's a home for them. It seems to me, Cal, Berkeley, they would just join the Ivy League, or something along those lines, and say, all right, we value sports, but not that much.
Yeah. Look, Dave, Doug, I know you got to get going, but a Jack and Henry update. Everybody loves hearing about them. And thanks so much for taking time out of your Saturday to be with us, because you're going to miss being on. You got to get on here next time with Dave Cody. He is, during the show every day, I don't have a feed going in my ear. I got Dave Cody and Shoney are two of the smartest guys. He sends me so much information. The guy, I mean, to say he's a genius is an understatement, but it's all this stuff about ways to run the show. I mean, Feinbaum's got great producers. I got Dave Cody and Shoney, and here's Dave out in Bellingham, Washington now at the golf course by Mount Baker. But, man, this is going to be fun discussion. So, Doug, have a safe trip, and thank you.
You bet. We only got about 24 days, and we'll be talking real football. Y'all have a great day, gents.
All right, you do too.
And
Thanks
I love Doug Dean's comments about the drone. If it's not a guy in Moscow sitting in a chair, we're okay. I like the drone pictures that they show at the game. And Ben,
see you guys.
I remember my only trip to the swamp. Auburn did not leave as a winner. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's a tough place to play, Ben. I mean, brutally tough place to play. And they're talking, Dave, I don't know if you're aware of this, but on the Buddy Martin show, and Buddy was supposed to be on with us here in the second half of the show, something came up, but they're talking about a $400 million project at the Swamp, Dave Cody. And you know what? Don't mess with what's the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Dave, can you imagine?
That's what Darryl Royal said about the Texas-Oklahoma game in Dallas. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and for God's sakes, don't put air conditioning in the swamp. I'm sorry, but that's what makes – I mean, yeah, it's about 170 in there with the wind chill. That's all I can say. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back. We got Dave Cody out in Bellingham, Washington, Big Ben Troupe at ESPN Coastal down in Savannah, and Eddie Murphy's going to check in with us for a sec, talk about on Beale Street. They're getting ready for the pole vault and for several more races. I went out there last night. Incredible. Let's take this quick break and be right back. It is a super Saturday on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in the 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Okay, Rob Browne back here with you. And you might remember this one?
We hand off to Herschel. There's a hole.
Larry Munson.
Oh, you Herschel Walker. My God almighty, he ran right through 2 men.
Did you run over Bill Bates in the end zone?
Inside the 9. Herschel Walker went 16 yards. He drove right over Orange Church, just driving and running with those big spies.
Ben remembers Herschel in the NFL, probably. I was at Cowboys training camp when Herschel and Tony Dorsett were in the same backfield, and everybody wondered how that was going to work.
Herschel Walker he's from Riceville, Georgia, about 20 miles from where I'm from. About 20 miles.
Okay. I was born in Albany, so Georgia is in my past. I've been a few trips to Athens.
Oh, this guy. Yeah, I look, guys. Hang on, real quick. I want to get Eddie Murphy on here talking about the Ed Murphy Track and Field Classic. Eddie, we're just going to keep you a couple of minutes because we're on a tight schedule. But last night I went out to Rhodes College. Absolutely incredible athletes from 41 countries. It's just nonstop. It's going to get bigger and better every year. You got a little something going on Beale Street. Let people know what time and what's happening.
What's going on, Rob? Man, appreciate the opportunity to get on with you guys. It's always a pleasure, man. We sitting down here on world famous Beale Street. We're setting up. I'll give you a little look here, right out here in front of Alfred's. Got right over the FedEx Forum, BB King's right down there. And we got a bunch of kids that are getting ready to start here at 10 o'clock this morning. Any of the athletes in this Mid-South area, Memphis Mid-South, are going to be anybody that's under 10 feet. They'll start here in about 45 minutes. And we've got a bunch of girls down there, just about 20 or 30 of them. And then when they get through, all the kids in this Mid-South area that are 10 feet and above, they're gonna be on this pit right here. And this is going to be the build up to 3 o'clock. We've got 4 of the top 18 women in the world and 2 of the top 8 women competing. And we've got 4 of the top 8 men in the world here that are going to be competing. The women start at 3 o'clock. The men start at 6:30. And it ought to be something, man. It'll be jam-packed down here. We've rented out the patio. Ally Financial has rented it out. They're bringing all the bigwigs in from Detroit. I just stepped on a pole as I'm walking. The stuff is being transformed on Beale Street, Rob.
Well, I went last night, and Ben, this track and field and Dave Cody, it's big. They're trying to make Memphis number 2 in the country this year. Eddie, I'll just say this to people. If you want to go see an incredible event, get out there today. Again, the events start at what time, and where do they get tickets, and how do they do it?
So look, tonight is wide open. This is what you called free. You know, it's free. All you do is come down here and get you a drink at Silky's, or go to Alfred's. You can go to Wet Willie's. You can go to Jerry Lee Lewis's bar. You can go to BB King's. Come down here and grab a drink and sit up here and watch guys go 19 feet. You know, women will hopefully go 16, something like that. And it ought to be a great night. Last year was amazing. Great experience. You can go to Ed Murphy Classic and look at our videos from last year. We got guys coming in from DC, from Puma, that's our big sponsor, and they did a great job with drones all over the street. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and one more thing. Bracy last night, where does he rank in the world? He ran a 9.96 100-meter in front of me. And how does that translate to 100 yards? Because I've never embraced the metric system.
Yeah, I think like Christian Coleman got beat. He came in third, and he ran a 9.79 not too long ago, so I don't think he had a great meet, but he blew him away right there at the end. And here's your buddy Paul Doyle walking up. I'm talking, hey, we got Rob Browne here we got the stuff going. He wants to know Bracy's race last night.
993, I think it was in the heat, and 996 in the final.
Yep. What is that worldwide? What does that do compared to what we're?
Oh, it's
Christian's at 9.79, isn't that right?
9.79 at his best. Bracy's 9.85, the best on Tennessee soil ever. Yeah,
that's a great story too. While we're here, I think when he came here like 10 days after the Tokyo Olympics, and his 9.85 that he ran at CBHS would have been if he'd have run that 10 days earlier, he'd have gotten the bronze medal.
Yeah,
isn't that pretty cool? So that's the kind of caliber of athlete we're generating here in Memphis, thanks to Paul Doyle, American Track League, and everything we're trying to do here with the Ed Murphy Classic.
Well, look, Eddie, I know y'all are busier than a one-legged man in a kick fight, and probably more nervous than a room full of long-tailed cats with rocking chairs everywhere. But get down there to Beale Street. Eddie, thank you for what you're doing. That team, Paul Doyle, and everybody that's down there, thank you. Let's make this the Wimbledon equivalent in Memphis going forward. Ed Murphy Track.
Hey, real quick, check these girls out. Can y'all see that, Rob? See them in the warm-ups? See that? That's a Mondo. That's one of the top pole vault runways in the world. It's one of our best assets that we have, because we can take a runway and put it at Booker T. Washington High School that doesn't even have a track, and we can put on a pole vault exhibition or clinics. Yeah. And so this is really cool. As a matter of fact, this was used in Atlanta. They had a big meet about a month and a half ago, and they had some trouble with their runway.
Yeah.
So they called a friend. And we booked this thing, got it in a U-Haul, took it down there, and we took care of all those world-class athletes that were competing down there. So it's building relationships with all the people in the United States, because we're getting our butt kicked in Europe. We finished 4th in the United States last year and 27th in the world. Think about that gap there.
Yeah.
And that's got to close. And that's our job is, to raise the profile in America for our athletes.
Yeah, no, it is incredible what you're doing. And Eddie, I'll be down there later today. I'm going to come by there. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And folks, get out there, Beale Street today. You heard it. It's going on all day. No cost. Just show up, get you a cold road soda, and watch the best athletes in the world. Thanks, Eddie. Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely love it, man. Thanks, Rob. You're the man.
You bet. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Sports, the competition and what we're seeing. And, we've been playing some play-by-play of some of these great calls and all. And Dave, we were playing the game where Ben hurdled the guys, and Mick Huber, the voice of the Florida Gators, just we watch these games, and you covered Vince Young. Weren't you on the sidelines at the Southern Cal Texas
Vince
game?
ran right at me in the end zone.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and you were there, and weren't you standing by Matthew McConaughey? I think was that there's all it's kind of a crazy
Mr. B.O.
yeah. But and so he's down there on the side, and now Matthew McConaughey's going to be in the SEC. All right. Does he say that at Texas games?
Well, he is the Minister of Culture for the University of Texas, and he teaches the class also to general students as well as athletes. I'm walking Ebro the Greyhound up here. You notice the green trees. We still have some green around here in August. But Ebro the Greyhound has decided to let me know.
Whoops. Uh-oh. We lost him. I think he's walking his Greyhound right now. But you played with Vince Young for the Titans. That is correct. And people forget that. And as an athlete and as a quarterback, he was, how big is he? 6'6"?
He about 6'5". He up there. He about 6'5". Yeah.
Wow. And man, and you have been waxing eloquently, just right on point with what's happening in the college football games. And Dave, you're out there with Ebro. I love it. Ebro, the Greyhound. And by the way, Ben and I are down here in the deep South where it's 115 in the shade early in the morning. How cool is it out there in Bellingham in the foothills of Mount Baker in that golf course where you are?
It was 59 a minute ago.
Oh,
and we're
man.
on our way to 80, I think, today. Or 77, I think it was today.
77.
A little cooler than yesterday. I got up to 80 yesterday.
Yeah. All right, Ben, let's get this thing going here. Dave, again, Texas coming into the league in Oklahoma. Ben, are you as excited as everybody else I talked to is about bringing in OU and Texas? And do you think it'll be a long learning curve? I mean, I don't think it's going to take them that long. They know how to compete. They've been doing it since the beginning of time.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, when you talk about, when you think about the SEC and what they was able to do, they went into the Big 12 and snatched out Texas A&M and Mizzou, and no one saw what they really wanted. They knew that Texas and Oklahoma wasn't going to come over to the SEC at that time. But you look at the reputation of the SEC since then, it's only right to go out there and get, because the thing about the SEC, it's about brand recognition. You ain't going to get bigger brands than Oklahoma and Texas. And the thing about it, I know they got the Red River rivalry right now. I think they played in Dallas. I think they played. I can't remember where they played at.
The Cotton Bowl. Yep.
But I'm telling you right now, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta is saying, "Hey, I don't know when, we got to get Texas and Oklahoma." Because the thing about Texas and Oklahoma is, you talk about revenue generating schools, they're in the top 5. When you talk about brand recognition, they're in the top 5. And I just think that, and it's the funny thing too, the SEC is going to adopt everything Texas and Oklahoma has done that we had nothing to do with. We're going to say we had back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners in Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray and Vince Young. So all that tradition that the Big 12 have, we're going to snatch it, bring it over here to the SEC, claim it like it was ours, as we should. But No, Texas and Oklahoma is not going to be a learning curve. I mean, we're going to have another Manning in the SEC. He first name Arch. He's over there in Texas. That's not by coincidence. I'm looking forward to him coming over. At the end of the day, Texas and Oklahoma is going to learn a very, very valuable lesson in the SEC. If you can't beat Alabama, it don't matter anyway. I don't care how. If you can't beat them boys from Tuscaloosa, I don't care how good you are recruiting. I don't care how nice your colors are with that burnt orange and white. It doesn't matter. So Oklahoma, they've gotten a taste of Georgia the last couple of years. The last couple of years we talking about out there in that Rose Bowl. Texas, back when I was with Vince Young, he used to tell me they had problems with Arkansas. I said, well, the SEC is coming. If you got problems with Arkansas, it's going to be a long tenure in your time in the SEC, but they'll be just fine, man. I'm looking forward to having them. I think that when you start talking about these programming. What's going to be better than Texas LSU on a Saturday, on a regular Saturday afternoon, Oklahoma Florida on a regular Saturday afternoon?
Yeah.
They'll be just fine. They don't lack anything. Venables though, I think he might be a little heated because he was trying to get as far away from the SEC and ACC as possible. Now he got to come on back home to the SEC. But I'm looking forward to having him, man. I mean, real good friends. The thing about Vince Young, if you guys ever get a chance to talk to him, he threw a lot of touchdown passes in the SEC. Just ask him who was his first touchdown pass as a starter. As a starter, I caught his first touchdown pass as a starter against the Dallas Cowboys, Roy Williams, all-pro Roy Williams at home. So when he threw it to me, I said, boy, it wouldn't have mattered if I was on the 10-yard line. I want to say that I caught a touchdown pass to Vince Young, really, really good friend of mine. I thought I was country being from old small town Swainsboro, Georgia. He's from the big city of Houston, and this boy more country than me. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care. Love Vince Young, man, but Texas love their football. They love their team. We ain't got a Matthew McConaughey. I mean, we got Tim Tebow. That's our celebrity crush. I mean, he don't got the brand equity as a Matthew McConaughey, but I look forward to Matthew McConaughey being on SEC Network talking about his Texas Longhorns and what's the Texas Longhorn name? What is the mascot name?
Bevo.
Bevo let me know that old Ugga from Georgia, he got a little athleticism to him. When Texas played Georgia, and Ugga was like, "Hey man, I don't want to take a picture with this big old thing." When Bevo turned, hey, I don't know if that's the same Ugga that's running out now, but that Ugga that day, he showed a little athleticism. Like, bro, I don't want nothing to do with that thing over there. But shout out to Texas, shout out to Oklahoma. Looking forward to adding them to the league. And if you are teams like Vanderbilt, you're going to get the check before the season, but I don't think they're going to add a lot to that. But I'm looking forward to that Oklahoma softball team. I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to the women's Texas outdoor track and field team who won national champ. We're going to adopt all that. We're going to adopt all as well as the tradition. So, hey, man, now I got the root for Baker Mayfield because now even though he ain't playing the SEC, I got the root for him now. But, I mean, right now he's battling against Kyle Trask, former Florida Gator quarterback down there in Tampa. So as long as he's a number 2 quarterback, he's all good with me.
Yeah, Dave, you just heard what Ben described. You were there on the desk for decades in Austin. Let's get a little background. Austin's motto is keep it weird. What are SEC fans? What can they expect when they go out there from the Texas folks? And how glad is A&M to have their good friends from Austin in the same conference? I'm sure they're welcoming them with open arms, aren't they?
Well, I'm wondering how the schedule maker is going to do because that game was always on Thanksgiving night, and that's too close to the SEC championship game now.
Yeah.
It was really close to the Big 12 championship game, but then A&M left, but it's very close to the SEC championship game, which is like a playoff game anyway. So I'd be surprised I think they'll play it early in the season.
Wow. That kind of like Florida State and Miami tried to do a few years.
Well, they've been selling home and home to Texas and Oklahoma for years to sell those suites. A guy from Coca-Cola told me that they offered him a home and home Oklahoma game, but Darrell Royal said before he died, he said, "Don't move that game out of Dallas." Yeah. And Ben, I know you had the cocktail party, but I had 38 of those Texas OU Red River rivalries consecutive, and it was a bowl game in the middle of the season.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what is so exciting. You mentioned Brent Venables, leaves the ACC, goes to Oklahoma in the Big 12. Now he's in the SEC. But what's really fun is that the competition, we got 16 schools and the 24 season kicks off. And everybody is going to be raising their game, and they're going to be raising their check size to 75, 80 million. And it's going to get better and better. Dave, when you went to Austin, you watched the Southwest Conference die. Is there any similarities to when it was dying to what's happening in the Pac-12? And obviously they're for different reasons.
Well, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten merged, if I'm correct. There's been a lot of discussion up here about what's happened with Washington State, Ohio State in the Big Ten, and how this is all going to work. So I don't know. The end of the Southwest Conference, I remember distinctly that I broke the Big 12 story in the middle of David Letterman on CBS. We were a CBS affiliate at the time, and I broke the story about the Big 12. Tom Penders had told me what was going to happen, and then I had it confirmed.
Wow. During the Letterman show. Ladies and gentlemen.
During the Letterman show,
Schaefer.
we interrupted the Letterman show and broke in with news of the Big 12.
Oh, wow. I mean, God, thinking about that, Larry Bud Melman at the New York Transit Authority welcoming visitors to our town. There was nothing better than that. Welcome to New York City. Where are you from, sir? Excuse me? Where are you from? You're a visitor to our fair city. He goes, I'm from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Well, before your dreams are crashed and your hopes and despair settle in, may I offer you a hot towel? You broke in during the Letterman show. That is so cool. Now, look at it, Dave. You've covered Texas a long time. You've covered A&M from a distance, but you know Kirk Bowles. You know Olin Buchanan, all these guys, Ken Capps, all these great guys that cover Texas. And I watch Kirk Bowles and Olin at SEC Media Days. Man, this rivalry coming back, obviously we know about Texas OU, Texas Arkansas. My God, is Arkansas fired up about playing Texas. They hate them. Where is Texas ready to hook up to this to Hoover Dam generator of electricity?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's been discussion, and I retired in 2013, so I've been out of the game for a decade. But there was discussion even before then about a 16-team SEC 4-pod conference. And that's kind of what has happened. I don't see two divisions in the SEC. Have they announced what they're going to do in terms of division-wise or pod-wise? I don't see that as staying two. There's too many teams.
Yeah. Well, they've got to do something, Ben, with pods or what have you. But you got to – I think that what they're going for, Dave and Ben, is they want to where if a player stays at a school for 4 years, okay, you're going to play every school in the league at least 2 times.
Around.
Now, we don't know if we're going to go to a 1-7 or a 3-6 model. But what makes a conference special is you'll all play each other. And the SEC contiguous footprint is all the states are connected. 16 members been spread out over 12 states. We're all of the same, we've got that Southern culture we love: family, God, football, eating, drinking, getting together, and visiting. That's what we love doing. And folks down in Florida, they might like eating swamp cabbage. Folks out in Texas, they like a good brisket. Of course, they like everything. But that's what makes this conference. All these other conferences are so spread out, Ben. Is the SEC the last conference standing, true conference?
Yeah, it is. And I think that's by design, too. I think I don't want to say the SEC is the most tradition-rich conference in the country. They just care about the traditions more. And I think that the likelihood of Texas and Oklahoma being in the same pod is 100%. They're going to be in the same pod if and when you get pods. But, hey, man, the thing about tradition, I was always told, is having new traditions. We get to say, I remember when this team had this rival, this team had that rival. And now you get to add Texas and Oklahoma to it. Now people in Florida get to learn about Texas traditions. People in, Louisiana get to learn about Oklahoma traditions. That's the thing about it is we know about each other's teams and what they hold dear just as much as we know about ours. That's what makes it special is Of course, Texas already think they're the biggest brand in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're the biggest brand now.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, what? I mean, and the whole thing about it is too, when you start talking about, Heisman winners and, I mean, Texas will say, Vince Young should have won the Heisman over Reggie Bush, right? I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Just like then in Florida say, you had a guy now, Rex Rosen, who should have won it over, who should have won it that year. You're gonna have those type of conversations. But Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, said, name two greater additions than what we got coming. With everything going on in the Big 10, the Big 12, people wanted three teams: Oklahoma, Texas, and Notre Dame. Nobody's gonna get Notre Dame. They roll to the beat of their own drum. They're not doing it. Everybody wanted Texas and Oklahoma, and Greg Sankey made one phone call, and they got it done. I'm looking forward to having them, man, because like I said, say what you want, ain't but one team going to win it all, and if it's not coming out of the SEC, where is it going to come from? And that's taking nothing away from Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, USC. USC got the best player in college football in Caleb Williams. The best team or teams gonna come out of the South, and that Greg Sankey cares about one thing: who has a better selection of 16 than me? Show me.
Yeah.
Show me who got a better. Yeah. I got the best selection of 14 before the other two come. And think about SEC media days. Right now it's 3 days. With all these guys coming, this thing will end up being a whole week. Because look at the headliners you got: Brent Venables and Sarkisian and Nick Saban and Jimbo. All that stuff is by design. So I'm happy for the SEC. Like I said, you know who's the happiest? Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt get a check for $75 million before the season kick off, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that when you start talking about the different things, that makes the recruiting a lot more widespread. But now that the SEC was already recruiting in Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, we got a kid named Princely down there in Florida. He's from Texas. He said he came down to Florida and Texas. And I asked him, I said, what's the biggest brand in the state of Texas? He goes, UT. He said, it's Texas. He said, you got Cowboys fans. He said, you got a lot of Cowboys fans. It's Texas. It ain't even close. So I'm looking forward to having them. And I'm looking forward to the trash talk, to the healthy banter back and forth. I think it makes it great, but looking forward to some new rivalries, because I know everybody thinking that because Texas and Oklahoma couldn't win the Big 12, Texas couldn't win the Big 12, they're not going to win the SEC. All right. One doesn't have to do with the other one. So guys that used to leave Texas, they didn't play in the SEC, will now stay home.
Yeah.
Will now stay in Oklahoma. But I think it's going to be really, really fun, man. I mean, I got some really, really good friends that went to Texas, Bo Scaife and Michael Griffin and Vince Young. Them boys talk about Texas like it's a part of their DNA. Like they go, hey, dude, I'm telling you. And these boys, Bo Scaife from Denver, Colorado. His real name is Oliver. And he loves Texas. And loves Texas more than the Broncos. And he grew up a Bronco. So I don't know what's going on in that Texas water, but I got to do two things. I got to get to Austin to see what all the hoopla is about. And I got to get to a Texas Relays. I heard it is phenomenal, Texas Relays. So I got to make sure I do both.
Yeah. Dave, you hearing Ben? And I've been to games in Austin. I've been out there. You lived there. There's 6th Street. There's Franklin's Barbecue. There's a lot to see. There's, Willie Nelson, Austin City Limits. Where do you start with it? But what you really start with, you talk about the brand, Ben and Dave. 2 years ago, when it was announced Oklahoma and Texas were coming into the SEC, the Wall Street Journal ranked the brand values of all these schools in the SEC, going ahead and putting Oklahoma and Texas of the 16. And at that time, Texas's brand was worth $1,118 million. Number 2 was Alabama at $1,008 million. Number 3 was Georgia at $992 million. Number 4 was Oklahoma at $987 million. And number 5 was Auburn at $897 million. Those brands are going up. Dave, you understand the value of TV and the market and all like that. The state of Texas has 30 million people again that we know of. I don't know how many people have come in this morning, but guests are always coming across the turnstiles. But Dave, high school football in Texas. Who are some of the greatest high school players that you covered that never even darkened the door of either Texas or Texas A&M or Baylor and went on around the country? Because it looks like 1 out of 5 quarterbacks that starts in college football, or 1 out of 6, played his high school ball in the great state of Texas.
One of them I'll mention is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson went to Ohio State and now is with the New York Jets. I was looking up at the preseason game the other night to see if he was the Hall of Fame game, see if he was on against the Browns. But they're not going to play their $40 million wide receiver in the first preseason game. They're just not. You saw Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines in his casual attire. I'm sure Garrett Wilson was probably standing next to him.
Yeah.
But what Ben was talking about with Florida and all of the great SEC teams, and the Florida relays he mentioned. The Texas relays were always the same weekend. So I was bought into the Texas relays, which, has a great history. I mean, terrific. There's so many ties to this SEC Big 12 connection with Texas. There's so many with swimming and diving, with softball, with baseball. I mean, there's so many other sports that are involved here, track and field. There's going to be a great relationship, I really believe, between the SEC and Texas.
Yeah, and I just think, like you say, the national championships. Now, Augie Garrido, legendary baseball coach at Texas, 38 World Series trips for the Longhorns. It would have been 39.
That was Cliff Gustafson, and then Augie Garrido passed just like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Augie came after him and won a national championship, and then maybe remembered in Omaha as much for not accepting the second place trophy.
Well, you think about this, Texas, this was their 68th appearance in the college NCAA baseball tournament. And had Stanford gone to the grocery store and bought some light bulbs, they would have been there again this year. But I'm looking at it from up above. Texas endowment, $42 billion. Texas A&M, just under $19 billion. We know about the oil and the gas and all like that, but I think, what's going to be interesting to watch is A&M could tell these kids, hey, come to the SEC. Now Texas can. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this thing play out. And Dave, you think about Drew Brees. Didn't he play at Lake Travis or South Lake?
Drew Brees played at Westlake, which is their rival. Yes, Westlake, which was then coached by Ron Schrader, now coached. Well, Todd Dodge has retired. Todd Dodge retired when the quarterback went to Clemson. What's his name?
Klubnik,
yes. Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Cade Klubnik was awesome. Wow. And then Todd Dodge went out with Klubnik, and now they have a new coach. I think they took one of Todd's assistants.
Okay. All right, Ben, this is going to blow your mind. Tell people a little something they have every year in the state of Texas. How many people, the Texas High School Football Coaches Convention, 15,000 people there or something like that? That's how big high school football is in that state.
And Jimbo Fisher he canceled his appearance this year because I know Matt Browne was like a guest speaker. They have a little history there.
Yeah.
Craig Way was the MC as usual. Craig does an awesome job at everything he touches.
Yeah.
But that Texas High School Coaches Convention is a mainstay. I mean, you go back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, and that we call that affectionately the Bible.
Yep.
And we look forward to it appearing, as Ken Caphurst said on here a few weeks ago. We look forward to it showing up at the grocery store shelves because we would buy the first one we saw.
Yeah. And Ben, again, without great high school football, you ain't going to have college football. You're not going to have pro football. And that's the part of it that is, to me, it just gets better and better every year. And I think, with conference realignment, this story breaking Oregon, Washington. You knew Phil Knight's money eventually would get a yes to help Oregon, and they brought Washington along with them. And there are a lot of people in that Seattle TV market, but it's going to be fun to watch. But I've always felt like the Pac-12 and the Big Ten would eventually do something. And it's funny, though, that the Big Ten ultimately threw out the lifeline and had all the leverage instead of the Pac-12, which used to dominate them in Rose Bowl, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Big Ten, you got to give them a lot of credit for being the thing about behind the scenes is we're not privy to behind the scenes, but they know what's going to happen on the scene. Big Ten, they knew what was coming. The Pac-12 knew what was coming. And it's all about putting yourself in a position to have leverage, to use that leverage. The Pac-12 shouldn't have let it come to this because they wasn't really having a really good representation in the college football playoff. I know that UW, I think, was in one of the first ones. It wasn't enough teams collectively helping the conference as a whole, and they knew it was going to be broken up. And I think the thing is, too, it goes back to what I said about Greg Sankey. He understood, let me go ahead and make my move now. I'm not going – this is my calculated move right here, right now, so everybody can see it because he knew, even though I'm the commissioner of the SEC, I know other commissioners. I know what's about to happen to the Pac-12. I know what's about to happen to the Big 12 and the Big 10. I know so the fact that the Big 12 knew that we losing our two top dogs, how are we going to replace them? It's college athletics, college football in particular. No one saw it being this force that it's become. It is everything to college athletics, and it's only getting bigger. And it's like, I mean, a brand is usually associated with a face. Nike, you think LeBron, right? Under Armour, you think Steph. SEC, oh, that's Nick Saban. Oh, that's Kirby Smart. And think about it. But now you get to say, well, what? So think about it. Nike, Alabama, Nick Saban. Three big SEC. Oklahoma, Steve Sarkisian. And what does Steve Sarkisian have at his disposal? I used to recruit out there when I was the head coach of USC. So now I'm taking kids from California that get to come to Oklahoma and play in the SEC. Venables. I know about the Clemson areas and those parts of the country. They get to come out here. It's just going to be a win-win for an SEC. It's going to be a wait and see for the Big 12 and the Big 10 because I knew what I got in Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. I don't know what these other guys bring. Outside of bringing a brand name, I don't know if the quality, because the one thing about the SEC that you never have to question is the product. The product on the field gonna sell. It's just gonna sell, and that's the world we in now. I know that everybody try to make it seem as if college athletics is about amateurism. Man, get out of here with that amateurism stuff. I'm telling you, the kind of in the next 10 years, schools like Texas going to have $1 billion worth of, renovations when you talk about facilities. God. $1 billion. So I think that I like what's going on in college football. I know we got these super conferences, and I know we're going to have the college football expansion when you talk about the college football playoff. Greg Sankey is saying, if it's 12 teams, I get 6. If it's 10 teams, I get 5. But I do think it's going to be less about the national championship and far about the programming before you get there. And I love college athletics because it dominates the headlines from the coaches to the players to the teams, even the controversy. We tied to it. And hey man, having guys like Deion Sanders in college football definitely helps. Having guys like Brian Kelly coming from Notre Dame to LSU definitely helps. But once with all the controversy, once you kick off on Saturday afternoon, all that stuff goes away. All that stuff we think matters, man, the fans care about what happens. And I know we talked about Florida renovations. Let me tell you something. When I first got to Florida, the capacity was 84,000. I don't want to go lower to 84,000. And to the fans that's complaining about seat capacity and sitting too close, you only saying that because your team ain't winning. This is not to be comfortable. This is to be in the building. It's hot. If you could deal with 100 degrees, what is 6 inches of space going to do?
Yeah.
We're not touching. You still sweating. You still burning more calories sitting down for 3 hours than you do working out all week. So we'll see. But I hope the Florida field don't do nothing crazy. Listen, the only stadiums that should be comfortable are domes. Those should be comfortable because you're inside with AC. If you're outside in the elements, what does it matter? Hey, look, we got space in between our seats. No, who cares? You're gonna be standing up anyway. So
Hey, look, we just got a couple of minutes left, Dave. We're watching all this happen, and I don't know how much it moves the needle among the people in the Seattle SeaTac market out there, but University of Washington's got a lot of tradition. University of Oregon, I mean, they've been doing this a while. We don't know what's going to happen with Cal and Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon State. But
wait till Penn State makes one of those trips from Pennsylvania all the way to Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. And the Wednesday night volleyball game, Rutgers at Southern Cal. I mean, that's when it's going to sink in. Hell, they'll probably will be carpooling with one another. So, Dave, look, we got to get you back on here again soon. I know you're out there at the park with Ebro. Great stuff. And you got this figured out. And it's going to be just fun to watch all the moving parts to this expansion puzzle. Nobody knows where the next move is, but we've been thinking that Washington and Oregon would go to the Big Ten. But again, I don't think anybody ever felt like it'd be the Big Ten that had all that leverage, because there are a lot of players in California. And now if you think the SEC's been going in there, the Big Ten is really going to start hitting the state of California. Right now, what we've got going on is a reverse of The Grapes of Wrath, the great John Steinbeck novel from the 1930s. People leaving the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma in the Midwest, heading to California. Now they're heading back east to play college football, college basketball, baseball, whatever. Look, awesome show. Ben Troupe, thank you so much for going along with us today. Awesome stuff. Dave Cody, Doug Dean, Eddie Murphy, Buddy Martin had a conflict pop up. Chef Roger overslept. He's been on a cruise. He'll be back with us next week. But most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the most blessed country in the history of the world. Never miss an opportunity to thank people who help you along the way. Until Monday, we will be back. Have a great weekend. As they say, we are out of here. Would you like a hot towel? Yes. We'll see you Monday. Thank you.